Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right?
What's up? Welcome back to the vlog. I don't own a one wheel, so I need to take my bike everywhere, or my car, but bike is good exercise. But we're not here today to talk about my bike or how I get to go out and do stuff. Today we are actually talking about the 3 main things in photography. The holy triangle. No, not Illuminati. We're not gonna talk about that one, but ISO, aperture and shutter speed. Spin the intro. Let's go. So let's start from the easiest one, ISO. You might have heard about that. So what ISO is basically, it's artificial light that you put into your picture or video, whatever. But it's digital lighting. If you don't have enough light in your picture or in your video, you can pump up the ISO and then you get the artificial light. But the thing is, your picture is going to look worse because it's artificial. Nothing looks good as artificial, so bear that in mind. But yeah, that's really simple. That's the easiest one. It's like, for example, if you put on your TV, you put on the brightness, you pump it up, exactly the same thing. You just put more light in it but then it's going to expose for more grain. And grain usually does not look good. If you're not going for that look, then totally fine. But usually it doesn't look good in pictures. So if you get more grain, then you try to play with the luminance and then it looks just bad. And yeah, try to keep the ISO as low as possible always. Optimal is about 100, so try to keep it that way. Let's move on. Next up, we got aperture. You know what that is? That's the sweet bokeh-licious background blurry stuff that everyone wants. But hate to break it to you, it doesn't always suit the purpose. It's not always the best to shoot at f1.4. And yes, f and then the number is the thing that is the aperture, just so you know. It says on the lens and everywhere is like f1.4, f2.8, f4, whatever. Or like some lenses could have f4.5 to 6.3 or something like that. But let's talk about this more. Okay, so what I said was that f1.4 and all this that everyone wants to shoot at. It doesn't always suit the purpose, and what I mean by that is, for example, when you shoot a landscape, you want everything to be in focus. But if you shoot at 2.8 or 1.4 a landscape, you're not gonna get everything in focus. On landscape, you want to shoot with a lower aperture, that means like f8 or something, then everything is going to be in focus and look much better. Then again, if you want to isolate a subject, then shoot at f2.8 or f1.4 or whatever. But that's the thing that's going to give you the blurry background and isolate the object from the background and give that more depth of a look. So you can imagine that like with a lower number on a f-stop, the more light it's going to take in. The blurrier the background is going to be, the more isolated the subject is going to be. And with a higher number of f-stop, the smaller the opening is going to be, so the less light is coming in. One good example for aperture and the f-stops is actually your eyes. Imagine that the higher the f-stop number is, for example f9, the more closed your eyes is. For example, f9 would look like this. And then a f1.4 would be like this. the more open your eyes is, the more light is coming in, and the blurrier the background is going to be. So if your eyes is like this, it's not coming in any light, and you're not gonna get that depth effect. But if your eyes like this, wide open, low f-stop, nice bokeh background, and voila, you get that cool sweet bokeh, you know. But yeah, hopefully you understood that, and let's continue. I'm just going to like get this by hand. I never knew that vlogging and riding a bike would be this hard. Now I know that I need a one wheel or something, electric scooter. Please, one wheel, sponsor me. No, just kidding. Or am I? Maybe? No? So, last but not least, we got shutter speed. Shutter speed is basically your eyes. Again, yeah, I'm talking about your eyes the whole time. But it's your eyes opening and closing. But not in the same way that we just talked about, but in a way like the speed of the closing. So you can imagine shutter speed being like you're starting with your eyes closed like this, and then if your shutter speed is like, for example, 1 second, then it goes like opening your eyes for 1 second and then closing. Then again, if you have your shutter speed at 1/60th or something, then it's like opening and closing really fast, like. And for example, if you're doing burst mode and like sports photography or something like that, then it's like you're blinking really fast, like ding 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 ding. That ding ding sound was your your shutter opening and closing. But yeah, that's actually really simple to understand as well. It's how long the shutter is open, how long your eyes is open, to get how much light is coming into your eyes at the time your eyes is open. Try to remember that. So aperture was the size of your eyes, but shutter speed is how long your eyes is open. Pretty simple, right? So here's an example. In this picture, I have a shutter speed of 1/5 of a second. You can see all the motion blur. It's not sharp, nothing like, it looks really blurry, and the motion blur is really strong in my hands and everywhere. But in this picture, I got a shutter speed of 1/300, and that is really fast. And now there's no motion blur, no nothing. Everything is sharp and in focus. And yeah, that pretty much explains the whole shutter speed thing. Now you might wonder how you actually use these three components. Well, hold on a second, and I'm gonna tell you. You liking my studio? I need to get the glove off. There we go. Okay, so now we learned the basics of ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. So let's bring those three together. They all work as a team. You know, they go like ding 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 ding. You know? Okay, but a fast recap of those three. ISO, artificial lighting. Aperture, what's that? Correct. That is the bokeh effect, the blurriness in the background, and you know, to isolate people and that stuff. The bokeh effect. Number 3, shutter speed. Shutter speed is how fast your shutter is going, like how fast it's opening and closing. 1 second is like 1/1000th of a second is like, that was pretty fast. But yeah, how do they work together? So if you're taking a picture and you're pumping up your ISO, that means you are putting in some artificial light. That probably means that you're shooting in pretty bad conditions, right? Or pretty dark conditions. If you want everything to be sharp and not any motion blur or anything, then you need to pump up that ISO while having the shutter speed at like whatever suits you, but I would suggest over 1/100th of a second, then the motion blur is going to be like minimized. And then you need to have the aperture as open as possible, for example f2.8. But if you're shooting in broad daylight or in good conditions, then you want to put down the ISO to like 100. Okay, so that's the main goal, to have your ISO as low as possible, because otherwise you're gonna get grain in your picture and that doesn't look good. If you're not going for that, then do your thing. It's not my thing, but you do you, like whatever. So if you're shooting in broad daylight and you get your ISO down to 100, you probably can have your shutter speed at like 1/300, because you can scroll up that shutter speed to like how much you ever want and let in as little light as possible. Then you can open up your aperture to like 1.8 or f2.8 or whatever you have on your lens, or what your lens is capable of. And then you get that nice depth effect and that nice bokeh, and you can isolate your model in portrait photography or anything. Okay, so to sum up everything to a 10-second thing, that could have been the whole video, but it's not, because storytelling, what up? ISO, try to keep that as low as possible, okay? The more ISO, the more gray. Shutter speed. The slower shutter speed you have, the more motion blur is going to be. If you have a faster shutter speed, then it's going to be less motion blur. Aperture, the bokeh effect. The lower number your f-stop is, the more depth you're gonna have, the more bokeh you're gonna have, the blurrier it's going to be. This is good, for example, for portraits or product photos or anything you need to isolate an object from the background. Then again, the higher number on the f-stop, the more is going to be in focus, and that's good, for example, landscapes or nature photography overall. Lower f-stop number is for portraits, and higher f-stop number is for landscape. That's a rule I just made up. Follow that rule. That's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hope you get anything out of this. If you do, please leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Lots more of videos coming out to you, and I'm just gonna push it out. That sounded a bit wrong in my head, but yeah, I'm gonna push out a lot of content coming up the next few months, so please stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and stay safe, and have a nice day or evening, or whenever you're looking at this video. I don't know. Love you all, appreciate you all, and see you in the next video. Peace.